Although it might not be the first name that you might hear of, Frederique Constant is one of these brands that comes up as you start to get further into watchmaking. On the surface, the company makes attractive looking pieces, but what is not as understood is how the company also has undergone one of the most impressive paths to success in just over 3 decades. What makes the rise in this period more remarkable is not just the brand's growth as a business, but the level of watchmaking on display, with impressive in-house capability that now includes the creation of over 30 manufacturer calibers. In this video, we look at the misunderstood brand that is Frederique Constant and where they stack up in 2025. So we're gonna break this down into 3 separate parts. Part 1 is going to be made up of the backstory from a small independent name to a serious player. And then in part 2, we're gonna look at some of the notable watchmaking from FC, some of my personal favorites as well. And then part 3 is going to be some of my final thoughts and conclusions. These are going to be my opinions solely, but trying to assess and unpack what the brand has to offer, looking at some of the shortcomings as well as some of the positives with the company, as I think there's a lot more discussion around this brand today than there was years ago. So as mentioned, FC has not been around for a long period of time, at least relatively speaking in an industry that measures in centuries, not years. Started in 1988 by a Dutch couple, Peter and Aletta Stas, the company's formation didn't begin through a broader vision of dominance. Instead, it started through really genuine small beginnings when the couple was traveling to Switzerland early in their careers, where they were window shopping for some watches. Their conversation turned from how expensive some of those watches were to wondering, hey, what if we could make one of our own? With this, the Stases decided to take their interest in watches and devise a plan to go about making their own brand under the name Frederique Constant, being derived from 2 of the couple's great-grandparents, Frederique Schreiner and Constant Stas. And coincidentally, Stas founded a dial manufacturer back in 1904, so the history in watchmaking for the family was actually there previously. Of course, nothing in life is ever that simple, but they were correct in anticipating a market for classically styled Swiss timepieces at more attainable prices. Back in the 1980s, the industry was in an era of transition, being very top-heavy with larger groups, given the quartz crisis that decimated much of the industry. This development made the barrier to entry high, all while being a daunting financial commitment. The first 6 prototypes, the 18th century collection, were ETA-powered quartz models, assembled by a Geneva watchmaker and exhibited at a watch and jewelry fair in Hong Kong in 1992, resulting in a 300 watch order from a Japanese wholesaler, which sold through in a single week after they went on sale, completely changing the passion project to a business. After that order was fulfilled, the orders increased in quantity from there, allowing Aletta to quit her day job to oversee daily operations. Fast forward 2 years, the brand unveiled its Heartbeat line, powered by Sellita movements and showcasing the oscillating balance through an aperture below 12. The design showed off an automatic movement in a novel way at the time, while not demanding the same hefty prices of a skeletonized design. This was a rather groundbreaking moment for FC during this period, making them an early creator of this style that has been widely copied since. In a similar story to other brands that were feeling pressure to develop independence from movement suppliers at the beginning of the 21st century, Frederique Constant also saw the writing on the wall that in order to continue to grow, they needed to develop in-house capabilities for movement manufacturing. During this period, there were a variety of developments that were notable and allowed FC to increase its seriousness in the industry. First, they set up their initial home in the canton of Geneva in 2000, placing them at the heart of the nation's watchmaking. In 2002, the brand acquired Swiss watchmaker Alpina, bringing in over a century of know-how into what was now becoming a small Swiss group. And 2004 marked the shift into the world of manufactured calibers with the FC 910. Designed by Dutch watchmaker Pim Koslag and realized with the resources of a number of different watchmaking schools in Holland as well as Switzerland, this was FC's pivotal moment that saw them transform to become a substantially more capable player. The manual wound FC 910 featured a number of patents, including the balance wheel bridge that was displayed above 6, a departure from the Sellita-based movements of their initial Heartbeat offerings. And then with this newfound momentum in 2006 was the making of their new enlarged manufacturing building to keep up with the brand's aspirations for the future. The caliber FC 935 followed in 2007, the brand's first automatic manufactured caliber, and being an early adopter of utilizing a silicon escapement wheel. 2008 saw the introduction of their Tourbillon Manufacture Limited Edition and another caliber to go along with it, known as the Automatic FC 980. The first in a series of limited editions that continue to this day, which offers astonishing value proposition compared to other high horology names playing in that same sandbox. Then there was an introduction of a very popular caliber, the FC 718, seen in their World Timer manufacture, which brilliantly allowed the setting of a World Timer watch with the use of a single crown with no required help of pushers. By 2016, FC was one of the most successful independent Swiss watchmaking names. However, with no interest among the Stas children to take on the family business, they were then acquired by the Citizen Watch Group. Frederique Constant has largely retained their autonomy, but this strategic partnership brought many benefits to the table. This included a network of other brand resources such as Citizen CNC lathes for watchmaking. You also had the connection to the movement manufacturing arm of the group, La Joux-Perret, and the obvious stability that comes from a larger publicly traded group. Further, FC quickly expanded its production of manufactured calibers after the acquisition, squared its operating facility to 6,200 square meters, and further distribution into key growth markets that the Citizen Group had an understanding of navigating. Now in 2025, Frederique Constant is one of the fastest growing Swiss watchmaking firms. It's sitting at the 36th position in total turnover in the nation, eclipsing 100 million in sales in 2024, according to Morgan Stanley and Lux Consult's annual watchmaking report. Unlike many names in the industry that have been regressing back to pre-2020 numbers the last few years, FC, on the other hand, is growing, in big part due to a broadened yet focused distribution network, its stellar value for money, and well-made watches that offer a chance at complications that are seldom or never seen at their price range. So from here, I want to take a look at some of the hand-curated picks for myself that I would recommend from this company, and I've been able to handle a lot of watches from FC over the years, so these are just some of my personal favorites and ones that I think are notable. This is going to include some of their manufactured caliber powered watches, as well as looking at some of the entry-level picks towards the end of this list. The first watch that really woke me up to the seriousness of FC as a watchmaker had to be the manufactured classic World Timer, which renders a high-end complication at a competitive price under $5,000. Now, what makes this watch compelling is not just that it's a World Timer watch or has some functionality, it has all the characteristics you would look for in a watch of this type: a rotating 24-hour disc, you have the rotating city display, a subsidiary date with the entire show all being operated by a single crown, so you don't have any added need for pushers, which is drastically different than many other World Timers out on the market. On the reverse side, the FC 718 movement, although finished using industrialized methods, it is a pretty movement to look at, with a variety of finish techniques on display, including perlage. You have circular striping that's going to be showcased on the bridges, and blued screws throughout. Compared to other well-known World Timer watches, the price for this watch is a remarkable achievement and one of the best points of value, not only in just this complication type, but also for this brand in general. If you're looking at other manufacturers producing something like this that are also harder to set, we'd be talking well into the 5 figures. One of the stalwarts of the FC catalog is the Manufacturer Classics Moon Phase, which offers a timeless look, a beloved complication, and a manufacturer 4Hz FC 712 movement for just under $3,200. The design is beautifully balanced. You have the elongated Roman numeral hour markings, the deep blue moon phase display at 3, and a pointer date display at 9. And of course, the movement's decoration is on par with what we just previously discussed. Further, the moon phase line does extend to other dial layouts and configurations, being one of the most attractive watches the brand currently makes. Another stellar complication seldom seen at the price point is Frederique Constant's Manufacturer Classic Flyback Chronograph. For those unaware, flyback chronographs are revered for their added complexity on top of the already difficult to develop chronograph movement. So what does a flyback chronograph exactly do? So for those that are familiar with a regular chronograph, you have to stop and start with the 2 o'clock pusher, reset with the 4. But what if you wanted to time consecutive events and didn't have the time to also stop, reset, and you just want to start a new timing sequence? This is where a flyback comes in, because as you press that 4 o'clock pusher in this instance, the second hand for the chronograph will jump back to the starting position and start running immediately without the press of any other button required. This type of chronograph is usually the domain of much pricier watches, such as flybacks from Lange and Patek, fetching prices in the tens of thousands. The automatic FC 760 caliber utilizes a patented star wheel for a thinner movement overall, and the dial is incredibly well balanced with a subsidiary date at 6 o'clock. On top of it, the watch wears well at 42 millimeters with a case height under 14 millimeters. Given the brand's early use of silicon components in escapement parts, it's no surprise that FC is not going to shy away from taking some risks in this department. Now, one of those developments was the caliber FC 810 as found in the slimline monolithic. What makes this watch unique is its oscillator, which is etched from silicone, vibrating at 10 times faster than a traditional 4 Hz movement. So in other words, it operates at 40 Hz and it is remarkably quick and interesting to look at with the naked eye. Despite the ultra high frequency, the FC 810 maintains a power reserve of 80 hours, the result of the reduced energy consumption of the escapement and being a result of the material choice. The oscillator silicone construction is also highly resistant to magnetic fields. All of this innovation is housed in a 40 millimeter case with an exhibition case back and decorated movement on the reverse side for an astonishing retail less than $5,000. While appearing to be sold through according to Frederique Constant, the monolithic technology will make a return in the future with a completely new movement in a limited production model and is a commendable pursuit in chronometry. Yes, it's very strange to see this wild oscillator with the romantic design style, but I always like brands that are trying to push something new forward, and this is an example of exactly that. While all that's come so far is pretty impressive enough, FC has also staked a claim among manufacturers of hot horology too. Now, one of the flashiest flexes a brand can offer is a tourbillon, and FC's manufacturer Classic Tourbillon makes a show of it right at 6 o'clock. At the heart of the watch is the FC 980 movement, which is not only showcasing the standard of movement finishing that we've come to expect from the brand, but the dial is also beautifully uncluttered with the second hand being integrated into the tourbillon itself. The limited watch clocks in with a price at just under $16,000, making it one of the best values in Swiss tourbillons. Although FC is primarily known for its propensity to lean dressy, the High Life collection is one of the brand's takes on the everyday sport style, starting at prices just over $2,000 with a COSC certified caliber. However, the collection is also home to one of the more significant statements from the brand on the side of complications with an in-house perpetual calendar. The caliber FC 775 was released in 2016 after more than 2 years of R&D, requiring no need for adjustment until the year 2100, and boasts the following. You have hours, minutes, day, date, month, moon phase, all while factoring in the leap year cycle. After its original introduction in the Classics Manufacturer Collection, the FC 775 found its way in Frederique Constant's integrated High Life model, with a superbly balanced design that allows adjustments by way of buttons set into the case sides. What makes it all the more remarkable is that the price for this Swiss Perpetual comes in at under $10,000. So as I mentioned, FC does have a variety of different tiers that you can get into. If you're going for the manufacturer calibers, that seems to be right around that $3,000 price point where you can start to get into them. But then you can also get into the brand for much less for some of their quartz offerings. But just to keep things all mechanical here, let's look at the Classics collection, which comes in just over $1,000. Now, the Classics does have a variety of styles, although I have always liked to recommend the modern simplicity of the Classics Index Automatic. The clean dial aesthetics showcase applied indexes, minimal text, and a 3 o'clock date with lume-modified alpha hands lending a sharp look. The 40mm case size and a trim 10.3mm case height wear well in a variety of wrist sizes, large enough for those that prefer modern dimensions as opposed to more vintage ones, while also not appearing oversized. The crystal is sapphire and the case is going to have 50 meters of water resistance, making the Classic Index a smart choice for a watch that can pull both the dress and casual duties off. And on top of all this, the price is even more approachable, starting at just under $1,200. However, what if you want to take some of what I just described there, those principles of the Classic Index, but then amp up the romantic design undertones? Then bring in the Classics Premier. So this watch comes in with a 38.5mm case diameter with a case height of just over 10.5mm thick. allowing this one to be more appropriate for office or more formal occasions. The dial features applied Roman numerals, offering great depth, as does the basket weave guilloche pattern achieved by press at the dial center. An onion crown adds a touch of elegance, and a display case back shows off the in-group Pier L'Age du Pré automatic G100, which features an FC branded rotor and comes in with a 68-hour power reserve. So now that we've shown some highlights for this brand, just a few closing thoughts on FC. So first off, why is Frederique Constant not seen by some in the same light as other Swiss manufacturers? Now, there is no logical reason, but there are some aspects that I think some people will bring up as something to assess when looking at this brand. And I think one of the large areas is heritage. This brand's only been around for 40 years, and yes, they've made some incredible strides when it comes to what they're doing on the manufacturing side of things. There are still just going to be people that are going to point to other names and looking centuries in the past compared to a company that's only been around for decades. Another factor at play is that FC definitely overproduced for a time in the 2000s, hurting their pricing integrity in the market during that time, resulting in an oversaturated marketplace with some of their earlier pieces and designs being a bit too inspired for some. But all to be fair, most companies in any field are going to experience some growing pains, and Frederique Constant is in a good place now and probably better than it's ever been, and is poised to expand based off what you're seeing with some of their new watches and where they're positioned within the market. With their manufacturer series, they're becoming a contender, producing some of the most compelling price watches of their complexity, all while demonstrating a level of autonomy in production rarely seen for a younger brand. Designing new movements is no small feat, and few can touch the brand for its value for dollar in this regard. I mean, let's think about it. Where else can you find a world timer, a perpetual calendar, and also a tourbillon at these price points from a large Swiss name? FC is an acquired taste. However, if your taste is steeped in value for dollar, quality watchmaking with a company that still maintains a bit of this entrepreneurial spirit, even though it's in a larger group, it still has those roots. And it's a brand that you should absolutely no longer ignore. I'm seeing many more people discuss this brand, and I think rightfully so. You're seeing some openings in the market under $10,000. There's a lot of shifts that are happening, but FC has been able to show over the last 40 years stability in being able to change the direction quickly. And I think they're on great footing to be able to have this in-house capability matched with pretty stellar designs to go along with it, and it's certainly a brand that I would continue to watch in the years to come. But all right, guys, that's my video here today, looking a little bit closer at Frederique Constant. This is a brand that I've been seeing a lot more discussion about as of late, and I think what I wanted to do with this video is go into the details about why this might actually be a worthy thing for people to start to consider, because this is one of those brands that, yes, you know the name, but I don't think enough people know about what they're capable of, what was their path to get to this point, and then ultimately what are they going to be able to do in the years to come, given this backstory of what they've been able to accomplish to this point. If you've ever owned an FC watch, you own an FC watch now, I'd love to see some comments down below. Like, what is your take on this brand? I think hearing ownership stories is very helpful in the comments for people that are investigating this for the first time, so really would appreciate that. Also, if you enjoyed these deep dives and looking at brands like this, let me know in the comments below. Give this video a thumbs up. That's also a great indicator that maybe you'd like us to do more of these brand profiles in the future. Happy to do it if that is the case. Also, definitely check out teddyballister.com. teddyballister.com is an authorized dealer for over 35 brands. Every purchase from teddyballister.com comes with quick and fast fulfillment, dedicated customer support, and a full factory warranty for all the products that we offer. We also have a full dedicated boutique in my hometown here in Cleveland, Ohio. So if you're ever in the area, you're from Northeast Ohio, absolutely come in. That whole store is run by watch people. We love what we do. The people in that store have been on this journey with me, and we want to be able to help you out with your next watch purchase. And if you're ever in the area, we'd love to have you stop in. In addition, definitely sign up for our event schedule if you are going to find yourself in the area, because that is a great way to see new products that you might not be able to see anywhere else, get to interact with me, brands, and a lot more. But guys, thank you again so much for watching. Be well, and I will see you all very soon.